Mr. Barney Chilton, editor of Red News Fanzine. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, looking forward to a game on Monday, which makes a nice change. Not
Isn't
the
it?
Monday, but the actual looking forward to fixtures coming ahead. So,
That has been a real sort of subtle change. I don't know about you, but for years, obviously, you do look forward to the games, and then at some point, it became a bit of a
yeah,
you start to relish the international break. This was for me
that's
the first international break in a long time that I've not been looking forward to.
yeah,
So it's
that's the sad
this is
thing that your
definitely a
core
change.
is what you love doing, and you've so yeah. I touch wood, and we know United's innate ability to put us through everything. But you look at these run of fixes and think this could actually lead up to a happy Christmas all round.
It's
Yeah,
tempting for you, Barney. Come on now, come on.
sorry.
Thank you very much for coming on. I wanted to get in touch because you were at Carrington recently. I saw on your social feeds. Just give us a bit of background to what you were doing there behind the scenes.
Well, it came totally out of the blue. We've been on the naughty step for 16 years because of a variety of reasons, but obviously our views on the owners haven't gone down well with very high up. And then Andrew Ward, who's head of media comms, basically, who's a lovely lad who did his own fanzine in the late 80s as well, K Stander, and he's always been kind to us. And just all of a sudden, it was literally, dramatic pause. I'm leaving, which we knew of, but it's coming around at the turn of the year. Do you want a leaving present, an interview with Diogo Dalot? And I'm a usual cynical old so and so. Like I've got this Victor Meldrew, and I was actually with my boy at that moment, and he said, "Go for it." So yeah, no, no, I'm not going to moan. And I realise this is a great opportunity. So yeah, I'm going to go for it. So hot-footed to Carrington Wednesday before last, um, and it was very very enlightening. The mood was fantastic. I made it clear, being the Victor Meldrew, this isn't going to change the content of a fanzine, but it was nice to be engaged. I've always maintained, grown-ups should talk like grown-ups if you've got disagreements. But it was just a window. As you'll know full well, things don't work to time after training and things like that, never go, to script. So I was there for probably about 5 hours, and the environment seemed very good. There's been a lot of changes there, and that for a period, I know that there was really tough for a lot of people, and a lot of people who've left. But you've always got to reset, like it or not. And it did seem, that genuinely that there was something there. And I really picked up on it, and the players were getting on well with each other. They were very, very polite. I mean, I've encountered players in the 90s, my legends, who could be a little bit terse when they met people. But these Cunha and Embremo were really polite and engaged. I showed them the cover because we got it signed for Manchester Mind for an auction, and they were talking about the cover. Cunha said, "Oh, I want this kit for the Brazilian link," and Bremo going, "Who's there?" And I could talk to them, and then I got to speak to Diogo. But also, what I did notice that Lamens was really taking the mick out of each other when he came through. There was a real good spark there between the players, and I thought that's really good. Like he's only just arrived, and he's not afraid to be central to this. He was really, like giving Bremo stick about something, and I just thought I'd left. It was for me personally, it was a real tonic I needed. It just gave me a real feeling that I'm maybe getting too giddy, but for God's sake, I felt so miserable for so long. Just so the look at maybe again, the Victor came out and thought, are they too polite and nice here? There's no one strutting around as if they own the place. But we've gone through difficult players and that. So yeah, it was, and then so I got to speak to Diogo, and whatever people think about ability, and there's been a few people snapping back when, as ever, when you put it on social media. But it's a fanzine, so I said, I don't want anything, taken out. Like and he said, I'm unscripted, I'm an adult, so let's talk. So we did about the high fiving even, and people may laugh about that, but like, why do you do that? What is it? Part of the psychology. Why do you stare at United ends after a defeat, which winds a lot of people up? I've seen him You know, like, why is he staring like that? He explains that. And he really talks from the heart about how you will feel, and he answers the criticism and that. So it's a grown up, mature, and the takeaway from it for anyone who says he's a really stupid player, you know, with decision making on the pitch, he's not a stupid player as an adult. He talks really coherently. So, and it's a fanzine type interview in a fanzine, and I think we all agree that there should be more of those because you actually see a side of the players that you don't normally. So I left it thinking he's changed my mind about him, you know, as a person.
So without sort of scooping yourself,
Yeah,
what generally how is he with the criticism? I mean, obviously no one likes it, but he has copped a lot, hasn't he?
yeah. I think he takes it to heart because it's a serious interview. You know, like we broach a couple of humorous, but there's no, you know, would you fight a badger or a hedgehog type, you know, stuff like this. This is 25 minutes of talking through the criticism, and it clearly, but it's also you know, like, you'll get an paraphrasing. He said, you might not like me as a player, but you must know that I give everything for this shirt. And then he discusses talking about getting to know the fan culture, the history of the club. You know, so there's not a player who's here for an easy ride, as we see. So as I say, like we might not change my own where he is in the team. You know, like, but there's a player you always need in the squad. You know, like, and I think someone said it after Spurs, it might have been when we were back in the pub. We can argue all day about where he is, you know, on the ability, but you can't deny that when he does come on, he absolutely tries. So, yeah, I'd just say, obviously, I'm going to say people buy the mag, but just read it, see what you think rather than have others decide for you.
Yeah. On the criticism, where do you stand? Because for me, it's important to have that accountability. You know, if you look back over, take club media, if you look back on match day programs or the match day magazine from the 90s or the early noughties, they're actually quite scathing
Yeah,
sometimes. And that certainly having seen it from the inside, that's softened over time. But now with the advent of social media, there's a direct line to players, isn't there, where you can,
yeah,
if you're so minded, you can just tell them,
yeah,
I don't rate you as a player, I don't like you as a person, even, you know, and just get you can it is possible to get in these players' heads, which is a dangerous thing, isn't it? So between, you know, you don't want a situation where you're getting pumped 7-0 at Anfield or 4-0 at Selhurst Park and you know, you're rubbing their
yeah,
hair, towels on their hair and going, oh, don't worry, lads. That's not a possibility. There has to be standards.
yeah.
But where's the line for
Well,
you?
it's a difficult one because you come from a fanzine. You know, look at the stuff that we were putting in the 80s and 90s, but it has changed to be a more venomous. You know, there's a spite, and there's a lot of it that's coming from non-United fans, which always pisses me off. You know, like, and which me and Diogo discussed that. You know, if like the Fergie thing, if you know if it's inside, you can and my view, you know, like I've become because I'm so like sick of being crap. I'm almost like this season. I want it as a redemption for all of us. So I've had enough of slacking the players off. I'm just bored of it. You know, I'm bored of feeling miserable on a Monday. So I joked to the sellers, I was a partridge, you know, like pumping them up because they've been told they've been rubbish for so long. Let's start maybe the other alternative. But culture's important, you know, like how they perceive. He's not on social media, which I think is a given. We discuss the being a Manchester United fan and criticism and ABU criticism, which is an entirely different beast. But yeah, it's very complicated. But we live in an era where the players just can't let their hair down anymore. And people would rightly say, you know, they're on extreme amounts of money. But there's something to be said that young men, and, you know, like I met Sesko, and you just realise he's a kid, you know, he's so young. And the ultimate argument whether you know we should be playing 21-year-olds as the main or 22-year-olds as the main United strikers, but it's just you look at them and you think they're just really young men. So that is a lot of pressure, and not many people can handle that sort of pressure. But also, you know, as I've tried to get older, I've tried to be a bit more measured than I used to be when I was younger. You know, and see it. It's a very complicated because you don't want to them living in a bubble. You want contact with fans, but equally, you want fans to talk to them. But there's a way of doing it without the shouty, you're a twat.
I mean, we've spoken at length about sort of the culture you mentioned earlier, the culture inside the club. Feels like it's changing. Is it a responsibility as fans for us to kind of turn that on ourselves a little bit and try our best to? I mean, you're never going to get full buy-in from an entire fan base of this size, but if you can get more people showing more patience, then an
Yeah,
understanding, I suppose, that will be to the greater good, won't it, in the long run?
yeah. Again, this is complicated, because my lifelong mission has been always challenge the club off the pitch, always challenge the club on the pitch for better. But while you're at that game, and I've always managed to separate what's going off the pitch with owners' issues with on pitch, and that's quite a nice equilibrium that I am totally too much an addict, a bar me, totally in love with Manchester United still, as much as I was when I was a kid, when I was 6 years old, that I go into a game just wanting us to win a game of football. And, it's an obsession, but, to just have that pureness that whatever is going on around you, don't let it affect that 90 minutes, whoever's playing. I never get caught up in team sheet stuff, most prominently shown at Anfield. This outcry, why is this playing? Why is this playing? And then you get results. It doesn't matter who's that 11, but the 11 that are on the pitch, you just go, come on. And that's it. And let's hope, like Channel, there's so much energy. There's so many fans. There's so much, and we have been patient on the whole, supported every manager. It's been an absolute cluster of a decade. So, but just like think, if this is the starting embers, keep challenging the owners, keep challenging the suits, but also then go, come on, United, let's go with this. Let's be a bit more, come on, let's all totally imagine what a full on Old Trafford in unison, challenging off pitch, supporting on pitch. There's nothing like us. There's no one better, so let's go for it.
Brilliant. Barney, that's great. Thank you so much for your time.
Sorry
Good
about
luck with
the
the match on Monday because I know it's not been an ideal the fanzine sellers, has it?
no, and the weather doesn't look too bright, but we'll be top of St Matt Busby Way, Salford Bridge by Hotel Football. Buy the mag, then give us your opinions about the interview, but please don't reproduce it because we don't want it nicked by aggregators. Cheers, Stephen.
Top
Best of
man.
luck with the channel. Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Take care
Cheers,
of
bye.
yourself. And up the Reds.